Welcome. Happy New Year. Everyone is doing great on this fine Tuesday, January 2nd. We are live today because I will not be around for a couple of days after this stream. So I want to get one in at least before the end of the week, because I won't be back until the weekend. And then next week we'll kind of resume a normal schedule, if you will. But either way, the new year is starting off on the red side, at least in certain areas. It's not everywhere, which I think is interesting and notable, and we'll cover some of that in a second. But I'm looking at Qs, which has taken the brunt of the downside so far, or at least today. And we're down about a little over 2% on Qs, and I was thinking this is a logical, pullback zone to pretty much in here, the lower 390s would make sense. There's a pretty decent volume gap there, and it would not be super surprising to be pulled into there, and if not more, but at least at a minimum into that area. So I think I told you I said last week, the plan was to get a hedge, and I didn't get a massive hedge, but I did buy SQQQ for my portfolio on Thursday or Friday. I forget if it was both. If I bought some on Thursday and then Friday. Either way, I got a little position on that, which is up. I actually trimmed a little bit of it off, but I am looking to take the rest of it off if we do achieve, a move down under 395 on QQQ. If we get a little further, the rest of the week, then that will be where I take that off. Again, a hedge is a hedge. It's not meant to try to time the bear market or whatever the hell happens next. It's just hedging at a strategic time when things check a bunch of boxes, and the conditions checked all the boxes, so that's what I decided to do. Not to mention it does kind of make sense. Maybe, it's the beginning of the year, sell off. People, hey, I had some good gains, I wanted to sell once we got into 2024. Maybe that makes sense. I don't know how much that plays into it, but certainly a possibility. Either way, you're getting a decent sell-off on Qs. SPY's down about 1%, not as hard of a sell-off. We were actually lower, a few weeks back. Some of the pullbacks we saw there, and so SPY's pullback could be larger, maybe down towards this volume gap, maybe fills you down towards 460, just below 460. Maybe we'll get something like that. We'll see, but that's kind of the areas that we're looking at. How's it going, Millen? Hope you had a great New Year as well. I think this is gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year. But the plan is probably going to be this year to at some point do some daily streams in the morning and maybe the afternoon as well for fun. But I think we're going to try to start implementing a schedule for the morning to do some live trading streams. I'm pretty sure I have my schedule to iron out to the point where I know when I'll be able to do them and when I won't be able to do them. So now that that's pretty much ironed out, starting next week, I think we should be on that schedule. And it'll just kind of be, an added little piece to the already, 3 times a week streams that we do. And maybe I'll transition some in the morning, some in the afternoon. Maybe we'll do both if things are, hot and the market's, interesting. So that's the overall, I guess, look at SPY Qs. The Dow is a lot stronger, so you're seeing a lot more strength there. If you look into different sectors, where are the strength in the sectors? XLV, the healthcare sector, take a look at this. It's actually had a massive day, breaking to the top end of the range from pretty much the entirety of 2023. So you make a new high there. XLU Utilities is bouncing up decently today, so you got some green there. Real estate's actually green today. Consumer staples are actually pretty substantially green today. Financials just went green. They were green. XLE Energy is green. The biotech sector, XBI, is green, barely. It's hanging on by a thread. So there's actually some green. So if you were to look at finviz.com, what you're going to notice is that despite this being a pretty red day in the NASDAQ and even the S&P and the Russell for sure as well, you've actually got a good amount of green. If you look underneath on the bottom right now, on the right-hand side, there's actually a lot of green. Healthcare, real estate, energy, utilities doing well. Kind of we just mentioned consumer discretionary stocks doing well. Financial, some of those green. The biggest red is in tech. Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, they're all down huge. I mean, relatively speaking, they're all down. But if you look around the board, 34% advance today. It's actually not as bad of a day to the downside as it may look, on the surface. So what it tells me is it's actually probably a good thing for the health of the market in general as a whole. Big picture, It's because you have rotation. When we don't have rotation, there's some kind of concerns there. But when we see, widespread sell-offs across the board, everything like hard selling off, that's concerning. But when you have these, pullback weeks or days in certain sectors and certain spots of the market, and then you have the opposite happens, the next day or a week later, it's actually, it's generally a good thing. You just have money rotating around, and you got this nice kind of, snowball that's kind of building and building and building. And you definitely haven't had, you can say that things got a little euphoric the past couple of months. I don't know if I want to say it was euphoric. We hadn't really seen a lot of the signs that we had seen in the past of euphoria. I think we just had a really strong run. That's really simply all it was. And we'll see if it continues into this year, and maybe you get a pullback now this month. We'll see. But so far, we're getting a pullback in tech specifically. That's where you're seeing the majority of the pullback. And essentially the speculative stocks that have done well as of late, they're starting the year off pretty red. You look over here at the risk on watch list that I have. Not a single one of these is green. There's other stocks that could fit risk on. These are just the ones that I follow. Not a single one's green. However, you look over at the large caps that I follow, there's some green in there. So you get a little mixed bag inside of there. We also have Bitcoin, gold, silver. Let's just take a look at these. Bitcoin was and is kind of breaking out. We'll see how this plays out going forward, because you had this push, looks like on decent volume on the breakout really today, and I guess last night into today. And now it's trying to maybe reject off that breakout. So I'm curious what happens there. I have a position on Bitcoin that I was trading. I have now moved my stop to essentially under these higher lows, and which is deep in the profit. And I've scaled some out along the initial move up here. Got about $1,000 away from my target sell, or just under $1,000 away from my target sell, which is just under 47,000. So got close. See if it can get that. It's about $2,000 away from that, a little bit less from hitting my target sell, which is where I've had it for some time now. So just letting it do its thing. Gold, surprisingly, is not down more. Why I say that is because if you look at gold, then you look over at the dollar, which DXY, very strong day on DXY. Now, is it super surprising? No, because it's just bouncing up off of a pretty substantial level that we've seen for the past couple of months, actually the past year. So it's not super surprising, but I'm surprised to a degree that gold's essentially flat on the day. Silver's down about 0.5%, but that's almost flat for silver because silver's a little more volatile than gold. So not insane moves there. Very curious how gold and silver do this year. And I say this year because I'm looking big picture on those. The short-term charts are kind of irrelevant to me. The big picture charts do have the potential to make some substantial breakouts, if things align and they make a move up on gold and silver. So I'll watch the kind of area I'm watching, that's for sure. Crypto miners were up more than 10% this morning. They're all down. Yeah, it's pretty crazy because of when you look at like playing a crypto miner, like for example, Mara, which is now down 1%. It's funny how sensitive it is when the market is a little red. It doesn't matter. Like you're seeing that you have like there's three factors or there's multiple factors that go into these things. Not only their individual, short interest, blah, 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 whatever, or their individual news and whatever drives them. But you also have to look at Bitcoin. You also have to look at the overall market, and then you have to think about risk on. So there's like so many pieces to that puzzle, because if risk on stocks are getting hit, these stocks fit that bill and they will get hit as well. And so it's kind of crazy to think, not crazy to think, but it's kind of interesting, how that works and how they get hit pretty hard, when Bitcoin's actually up 2%, which you'd think the miners should be up, right? Bitcoin's up 2%. Oh, that should be up. No, they're not. Heard some miners are selling their crypto reserves. I wonder if they are. To me, the Bitcoin move in general, so I have a BITO position in my Robinhood portfolio. We're talking more of like an investment position. I had that position, which is up massively from when I had initially bought it. The thing about it, though, that I have is I sold a 23.50 covered call for this Friday. So I'm not expecting, but if Bitcoin can get there or BITO can get there by Friday, which would be a decent little push, but I don't think it's insane. If you think about the consolidations we've had, right? I'm looking just for a break of that consolidation and a little push. That's all I'm looking for. Nothing insane. If we can get that, awesome. I'm out. I will have, then I'll have, the only Bitcoin exposure will be the actual Bitcoin that I hold in that portfolio, which was literally from sports betting money that I withdrew earlier this year. Like, that's literally it. So that's the state of my Bitcoin position, but I'm likely to get out of that soon, and I might even get out of it if it breaks down below this consolidation. I'll consider that a possibility. Ideally, I'd like to get out of it with a covered call getting, hit and then exceeding that price target, and then we go further and I get taken out, whatever. But it doesn't always work out that nicely. But the covered call that I sold it for 30 cents for literally 3 days from now, pretty much. So getting paid $30 for 3 days. If BITO doesn't end up getting there, it's kind of cool. That's a pretty nice dividend that I just paid myself for really not doing much. So that was cool. I have done a couple things in that portfolio that I think are notable, at least to talk about. One of which is I stopped reinvesting dividends back into positions because some of them had some dividends. I had the auto turned on. I've stopped doing that. And then secondly, I've stopped my recurring investment in JEPI. Now, nothing necessarily wrong with this position and with a recurring investment here, but the reason why I've done that is more of a personal reason and not necessarily I'm trying to time the market reason. But to a degree, I'm trying to exit when I could use what I believe. This is the subjective side of things. You don't know, but you have to kind of make a call for yourself. When I believe I have a better likelihood or a better use for the money in the shorter term than achieving a similar or a high return again in 2024. So not that I'm selling everything yet. I'm going to be, instead of just selling everything at once, I'm just kind of easing out. So one step is no more reinvestments, and I just leave what I currently have, let it go, and then slowly trim out of things as I had started to do last week, and I think the week prior a little bit, and just kind of doing that same thing a little at a time. So that's kind of the plan. Still have a pretty nice position there. It's still a hefty position, but it's not going to be, I'm not adding to that position anymore. I'm just going to leave it alone and let it do its thing. I would consider adding to these things if let's say this is a pullback that ends up being sustained and the market rolls over and we're pulling back for a while, and now all of a sudden QQQ ends up somewhere down in here. Okay, now we can start talking. Now I'm interested in maybe dollar cost averaging back in again. Just that, I'm trying to do a better job of, in a situation where back in 2021-ish, I did a terrible job of this, is I made money. I made a decent amount of money. And then instead of doing the smart thing at the time and allocating it properly, I pretty much tried to just kind of make more and more. And I realize now that it's a game of runs. This is a game of runs. And so if you can do really well on a run, you have the potential to really change the trajectory of a lot of different things financially if you do very well. But then the second piece to it is then how you handle the second run, which will usually be a shot to the portfolio, or it'll be the opposite of what you just experienced. And so, not that I'm trying to time that. I don't know when that's coming. Who knows? But I'm more so being a little more conservative and protective of my recent run. And then when I see similar signs of that again, which may not be for a couple of years, I at least now know what to do when I see XYZ happen again. And I know all I need is a couple runs to be, to set yourself up for, for whatever. So that's kind of my mindset of it all. We're not like smashing through all-time highs, so I'm not saying SPY sell it all. Like, no. But I think there's actually a pretty good likelihood that we break all-time highs here at some point this year. I mean, here's the monthly chart. Just looks pretty strong to me. It looks like it's inevitable that it's going to break this at some point, but it might not be for a while. We'll see. RPID had a big sale on last day of 2023. Okay. You know what I'm thinking about is, let's see, let's pull it up. Curious what we're going to get in. Yeah, that was a nice dump on Friday. Friday for sure. It just came right back to like kind of reality almost today. But that's like the type of move that that's actually an interesting look because you have something going on there, I'll tell you that. dumping on high volume, and then it snaps back up. Who knows? Obviously, offering there's potential there for sure. But then, like this thing, it wouldn't surprise me if it snaps up, gets some good news, or just they trade it up higher in the coming days or weeks. But yeah, I'm curious how small caps are gonna do into the beginning of this year. I so far haven't had a ton of great luck on them. They haven't done bad, but they haven't been great. LBPH, that's killing it today, but this was like a $6 stock, so Let's see what we have. Top gainers, that's it. I mean, well, that's it. The next gainer is Dogs, DOGZ, which has made a big run the past couple of weeks for sure. Now that I look at it, but it's 60%. I want to see a couple 100%ers. That's pretty nice. There's some stuff there for sure. There's some volume. I want to see more of them ideally, but there's some. That's for sure. Been trying to fix up the camera situation. I finally bought a lens, like an actual lens that I think is decent, versus using like just whatever the stock lenses are, which might sound so stupid to people who know cameras, but I don't know. I've never been a camera guy, and finally I'm getting a little bit into it, learning a lot more these past couple weeks for sure. On a couple things. One of those things was video editing, and one was cameras. Two things that I'm like, I probably should learn more about these two things and get better at them if I deal with them almost every day. So some big moves that I thought were notable were Apple was a pretty big move down. You can almost look at this as like a double top. It's kind of looking like that. Pretty big move down on Apple there. Probably a big driver of why the NASDAQ is down a lot. Adobe's down 3%. AMD doesn't look great. Like AMD has more of that blow off kind of euphoric look to it. At least it looked like it had that. We'll see if it can kind of catch itself and then, rally back up in the coming days and weeks. Amazon's down, not a ton. Google, funny how that looks. Home Depot, Meta. Yeah, some of these charts are not that bad. Tesla honestly is not. I was in a Tesla long on the break here, but I got out of it for a small loss, very small loss. You can even call it a break-even loss. I still think it looks good. Just the reality is I don't want to deal with this thing if it's going to chop around and shit around for a while. So you'd want to see it kind of bouncing off of here and then curling back up. I just don't want to. I wouldn't want to see it fall below like 240. That was my original stop loss area. I just cut it before the end of the year just because I felt better with that going into near end and having a cleaner slate, but it still looks good. I mean, it still doesn't look bad. It could even pull back in here and then go. It could do whatever it wants, but not terrible. Not a terrible look there, which is, I don't want to say interesting or surprising. I don't know if that's the right wording for it, but it's something that's at least notable. Walmart's having a decent day. Walmart's got a pretty big gap to fill up in here. That's for sure. After the earnings back in November. Exxon's up a little bit today, but oil's down, funny enough. Yeah, oil's down. Oil's down about 1% as we speak, down around 70.50 on US oil, which again puts pressure on these lows. We've been talking about this for a while. This has been it's funny. It's funny because if you go back into this rally here and oil to 120, oil to 100 plus, oil to and guess what? Now oil's at 70. Get fucked. That's why I think that trying to make predictions on the market, price and different things and setting dates to those things, it's honestly it's in my view, it's just a fool's game. It really is. And people say that a lot. Some people make a lot of money off that stuff and they can do very well, have good careers. But I just personally believe it's a fool's game. And it's not necessary at all to do very well, which is what I think starts to unlock a lot of mental. I don't know, it unlocks a lot mentally when you start to realize that, I don't need to predict anything. I could do great. Semis are down a lot. Managed DC on my SOXS. Yeah. I mean, you're seeing that because, not because, I shouldn't say because. What am I to tell you why? I mean, tech's down a lot. This is one of the stronger sectors in tech, and I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of driving that move down to NVIDIA. Oh yeah, that chart was pretty nuts. If I remember, yeah, not nuts. I guess it's down 3.2%, but it's down $16. It was down a little bit more. I remember waking up and seeing it this morning at around, in the 290s, maybe in pre-market or whatever. I looked at it. And I was like, yo, NVIDIA is not down that much. Because I was looking at Apple, comparing it to Apple and other stocks. I was like, NVIDIA is not down that much. If NVIDIA opens up and this market kind of bounces back, I mean, NVIDIA is looking at like a breakout here soon. Very soon. Didn't happen. And I'm actually like, I like this look because I would love to play this weekly chart breakout on NVIDIA. Because what do we see, right? We had this extension, right? Big moves, right? Okay, cool. And then it started to tighten up and coil up. So some pretty big moves in here, but starting to tighten up and coil up. But the past couple of weeks, go back to mid-November. Look at NVIDIA. It's tight. Like these are not big moves, and this is on the weekly chart. So these are not massive days, like we're not massive weeks on NVIDIA. So what do you have? You have the compression of the spring, and then eventually we're going to get one of these. And that move is either going to be like this or like this. It's likely to be. The compression can go on for a lot longer, right? That usually means a bigger move at the end of it all, but it doesn't have to, I guess. So it just puts the odds and the likelihood. If we can hold up here, let's just say we hold up in here. Whenever NVIDIA gets there, I would love to play that breakout whenever the time comes. Maybe it's next week, maybe it's in 6 weeks, maybe it's in 6 months. We'll see. I would love to play that. We'll see. Either way, if it doesn't happen, there's going to be some good downside here as well. So if we start to kind of trend down, NVIDIA breaks down below 400, I mean, now we might have an acceleration to the downside. We'll see. It's a long way to go, but those are the kind of the things I'd be more interested in paying attention to on something like NVIDIA. So we'll see if we get it. We shall see. I do have to jump. I probably have to leave in like 20 minutes because I got an appointment here soon, or like an hour, but we got 20 more minutes to hang out. Yeah, so there's not much. I mean, there's gold that I like. Bitcoin, I have a position on the two open trades I have is Bitcoin and gold. They're swings. Gold's a recent. Bitcoin I've been in for a while. I'm just in the scaling out process. So we're waiting on that. That's it. That's really it. So. I'm waiting for something to set up, and NVIDIA looks like it could be the next play. I think downside opportunities and downside trades for me need some time to set up. I don't think that they're going to be here just left and right, at all, which I think is good because this week, starting tomorrow, I'll pretty much be away. I'll have my phone, but I'll be away, so I'll monitor some charts. But like, I have some alerts set on NVIDIA personally right now, and if it gets over 505, I'm very interested in playing that. But downside stuff, you're probably going to need to set up a little bit more. Look at Coinbase down 10% today. Funny how that works, right? Bitcoin's up and actually breaking to new highs, I guess, of the year. Oh, yeah, that's funny. It's the first day of the year. Yeah, no shit. Second day of the year. But breaking to new highs of the recent bull market or bull run or rally that you want to say, from the 18,000 mark, whatever the number was, to now over 45,000, which is pretty crazy. So Bitcoin's making new highs, yet Coinbase today drops 10%. It's funny. It really is how you need to be ahead on these things if you're trying to trade these correlations. And it's funny because today's an easy day to get wiped out because you would think, right, as someone who comes in who is not very familiar, who maybe is new and goes, oh shit, Bitcoin's up. That means Coinbase should be up. I'm going to trade Coinbase long. I'm going to buy all the dips. on Coinbase today. Maybe in a couple of weeks it works out, but that ends up you end up getting blown out, and you're currently getting blown out right now if that was your approach. So it's funny. It is, and I've been that guy in the past. Totally have. I've been that guy way too many times, I feel like, but not in a while, not for about a year probably. At least that was more of like mindset that was adopted from small caps. Got stuck in playing stuff like that in small caps and caught buying dips too much and not having a solid risk management plan, and then getting blown out, and it happens. We all got to go through it probably at some point. We had low day on Qs, close to low day on Qs. We're about to cross. Well, we're close to that 400 mark. Yeah, on QQQ, got close to it here. Yeah, I don't think it's tradable until the end of the day. I guess it could. There's still 30 minutes left, but I wouldn't touch that. But there's your downside break potentially, right? If this ends up holding as a flag, could get a little push into the close on the lows. We'll see. But yeah, nothing to do. Otherwise, I'm actually about to. I got taken my second take profit. It got hit on my SQQQ. So I had 2 small take profits, and then I'll probably set another one. Yeah, I'll set another one for a small piece. SQ1450 will be in my next spot that I'll be looking to take some. I'm going to go 24-hour market, good till canceled. Boom. So now that's just a cool thing about Robinhood is that overnight, like if futures trade lower a lot, I'll be able to get taken out on a piece of the hedge. The hedge is not going to make a lot of money. I probably could have made the hedge way larger than what it is, but that's kind of the intention of it. It's to make a few bucks, catch you a little bit on the backside, and then beyond that initial kind of, I don't want to say it's easy money, but if you look at like fear and greed, then this will eventually fall back into lesser greedy, right? Let's say it goes back to greed. You're going to fall once you fall out of those things. The risk reward on a short, to me, especially in a big uptrend, becomes very stupid to hold that very long. So it's just not worth it from a investing perspective at all. Doesn't mean buy the dips, but it just means like, because especially if this actually holds up, let's say the market holds up and we go higher this year, like decently higher than 400 on QQQ, and we pull back a bit, whatever happens, and then it does this. The last thing you want to do is have good gains on a hedge and then watch it all get washed away. Because if you're, being proactive, understand like the hedge is not an investing strategy. So it's a small component that you could do to, again, hedge your backside, especially if, God forbid, there's a crash, and the market just crashes. It would be pretty sick to have a hedge on during that, right? It would be awesome to have a hedge because then you can sell that hedge and then you have all this extra cash that you wouldn't have had to either buy the dip or to just sit back and wait for an opportunity where you feel comfortable buying a dip or whatever. But so, I mean, that's my view. Cause like you can't, if we were in the middle of like, somewhere in here, different story. But because of this push we have seen, there's absolutely no, you're going to need a lot of downside to end. And then not only that, but you need to also then build in lower highs. Like, not only does it need to see, breaking down, but then you got to come up here and then reject hard. And like, once you start getting that, now it's pretty nicely trending down. There's no way to tell you that at all up here. Like, you cannot say that we're trending down up here. You don't know. Trending down on today, yeah, sure, but not on the bigger time frames. USEG chart. Let's see. Let's see. I would be looking probably at this 125 as a first spot of interest. Because there's going to be a lot of crap to kind of grind through here, right? Like this mess from 125 up to like 160. Like this, in this area is a decent spot to take some. So from 125 to like, let's say 150. And then beyond that, geez, I don't know. There's some spike. I be looking at these highs. So this is a spike to 177. You got this spike to 270. Those would be kind of like the next spike highs. And then the psychological levels, like $2 kind of falls right in between. If you get a spike to there, that could be interesting. The trend's been tough. So trend's certainly been tough. So be proactive on any spikes that you get. Was a good trader back in 2021 or prior to 2022. And then really since 2022 began, wrong, but they have been few and far between, and they've been very quick. So there just isn't a ton of signs that's like, oh, this is an amazing play. I remember trading this stock back in the day for sure. It was fun. I think I probably did well on it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I did good on it because I never bought the spikes, but looks like we're in the bounce here. Yeah, I think well, let's check cues. Do my stream. I hope the stream is not super laggy. Might have to fix the Wi-Fi situation here soon. Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully it's not been a pain in the ass. Yeah, so it's bouncing off that level we were just looking at before. So now that doesn't become very interesting. But thought if we sold off in the close, you break that, you could probably fall under 400 if that level broke. You'd probably test, 400, maybe go underneath that, but didn't really do it. Didn't get the Momo on the backside of it. Chill, chill, chill. I've been seeing a lot of stuff about lately about fructose and sugar, because I've been like kind of watching a lot of health or listening to a lot of health podcasts and stuff. And then recently was a Huberman podcast. I don't know why it's so hard to say his name, Huberman. When you say it too quick, I like, you can't say the H. You just think, ooh, Huberman. But he had a podcast recently about that stuff, because I'm like very into health and fitness. I've always been, and talking about fructose and whatever. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, the basis behind it. Like if you eat shit, expect to look and feel like shit. But some debate upon, I think one of the recent ones, with how he was kind of saying how fructose is essentially going to cause your liver to get fat and all this stuff, when in reality there's some debate behind it. But I think it's interesting either way. Stuff kind of fascinates me. I always like if when I am not looking at a chart or whatever, which nowadays is actually decently, it's actually a lot of the time, because I've simplified my approach to not being staring at shit all day and all that. When I am not looking at a chart, you're either going to find me looking into watching people do cool things, whether that's I don't know, athletic achievements or I don't know, outdoor things, snowboarding, hiking, whatever, or learning about fitness and nutrition as much as I can, because it's kind of cool. But I tell you, I feel, generally speaking, it's kind of that same thing. The same approach is eat good, feel good, do good. If you are constantly neglecting yourself, whether that's sleep, whether that's food, all these different things, it's fairly obvious that you're not going to feel great, which means you're not going to perform great, which means you're not going to think clearly. Sometimes the best I've felt have been the times when I'm eating good, exercising well, not over exercising, but doing a nice amount, and then just, I don't know, you just feel like you're on a different level. Your brain's just working really well, and like things, your ideas are firing, and I don't know. It's cool. I mean, this is unfortunate, this stupid stream Wi-Fi. I hope. Yeah, because my OBS is giving me like a red or a yellow flashing light. So we're getting kind of a pain in the ass on this. I have to probably change. There's been some settings I got to change. And also, by the way, I'm probably going to wrap things up here because I do have to leave soon. So I'm going to wrap things up. I got to get one last thing done, and then I do have to leave for something. But so it'll be a short one today. The plan is I won't be here tomorrow and the next couple days, but next week we'll be back on it and probably do a morning stream some days, and then in the afternoon stream I should be good to go on some of those. We're having more of a schedule, if you will, on that. I don't know how strict it's going to be, but at least try to go off of some sort of schedule on those. So we'll see. Hopefully we get the Wi-Fi. I got some settings to fix too as well on the stream side, because camera stuff, I was checking out my camera and then looking at how it came through OBS. It looks completely different on the camera versus how OBS views it, which means I got to fix settings, which I forgot that I must have changed, a year plus back that I totally forgot about. Either way, I'm going to wrap things up for this stream. So we'll see. Run the race in the mountains. Yeah, the altitude thing, I'm planning to do one soon. I don't know when and exactly where, but the altitude is going to be a priority to get accustomed to. At some point, I'll have to take a trip out and do some mountain runs, but we'll see. That's the plan. This year, they don't have like any goal resolution crap. I don't do that shit really, but I do want to get in do at least one pretty cool race, probably the summertime, but not sure where. So we'll see. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you next week. I think I have some videos and whatever to post, or a video at least to post maybe on Thursday.